Dreaming of cracking the UPSC Civil Services examination? Unsure about where to start or how to navigate the challenging path to success? Vision IAS Delhi's GS Foundation Course 2026 is here to provide the right direction, support, and resources to transform your dream into reality. This holistic course is designed to prepare you for every aspect of the UPSC CSE, Prelims, Mains, and interview. Here's what makes this course a game changer. Complete syllabus coverage from GS Prelims to Mains, CSAT, Ethics, Essay, and Current Affairs. We leave no stone unturned. Top-notch faculty learn from Delhi's most experienced mentors who have guided countless toppers. Personalized mentorship, tailored feedback, and performance assessments to help you constantly improve. Exclusive current affairs preparation. Master the dynamic part of the syllabus with PT 365 and Mains 365 sessions. This course isn't just about preparation, it's about building the confidence and strategy you need to excel. Batches starting for 2026, 2027 and 2028. Karol Bagh, 17th December, 9 a.m. 29th November, 5 p.m. GTB Nagar, 13th December, 6 p.m. 23rd December, 8 a.m. Your journey to UPSC success starts with Vision IAS.
Okay, good afternoon, class. We'll discuss two topics today. One is related to the minimum support prices. That is whether the minimum support prices should be given a legal guarantee or not. So we'll discuss from the start, how did we start this whole regime of minimum support prices? What exactly were the crops? How did this system evolve? And what is the present demand for the farmers? And why is the government or reluctant, or government is adamant that we'll not be able to do it? We'll discuss all of the perspectives so that you can have a well-rounded answer on whether MSP should be given as a legal guarantee or not. Because price support as a topic has been mentioned in GS paper 3. So you can have a question on price support and its related problems. Now first, what is the understanding of minimum support price? So I'll just give you a brief background on why the minimum support price was required and what was the procurement mechanisms for it, and how exactly this whole minimum support price mechanism was institutionalized in the country. So 1947, when India gets its independence, what is the problem in agriculture? What have we inherited from the British government? British government wanted the maximum revenue from agriculture. So they had institutionalized certain land revenue systems where you had an intermediary and then you had the person who was actually performing agriculture. So in order to, till 1947, what the British policy was that we want to get maximum amount of revenue. And in order to get this revenue, they had a class of intermediaries. These intermediaries were called as the zamindars and also jagirdars in some place. So using these intermediaries, what they had done, intermediary would be the owner of the land and the actual farmer who's working on the land is a tenant. Now what is the problem of this intermediary and a farmer situation, which was formed by the British in the permanent settlement areas, which was roughly 60 to 65% of the British India. The rest of the India in princely states also had a similar system. So because Mughal se pehle tak bhi yahi system tha, where you had mansabdari and all, where people were not actually performing agriculture but were made the owners. So these systems where owners were different and actual performing cultivator was different, this was institutionalized in the permanent settlement areas and also significant parts of the princely states. So zamindari slash jagirdari systems was something which was present in most of India. Now what happens due to this type of a system where the owner is someone who's not practicing agriculture and the tenant who's actually practicing? What was happening here? The owner has no incentive to invest in the productivity. Because there is no other occupation present during the British times, because industry is being destroyed, there is no handicrafts or artisans, so there is significant pressure that is happening on land. So the intermediary knows he's always going to find someone who's going to work for them. If he knows that there is going to find a number of people who are going to work for them, the intermediary has no incentive to increase productivity or no incentive to invest. So the intermediary knows that there would be number of people who would be ready to work because there is no other livelihood that is present in the Indian economy during the British time period. The problem with the farmer is the tenant farmer has to pay a huge amount of rent, and not just this, he doesn't have a security of tenure. So the tenant farmer is not just facing huge amount of revenue demand coming from the British government, they are also facing high rent demands coming from the owner also, because he is taking the money for his own expenses. So exploitative rent practices coming for the tenant, and he can be removed anytime. If he is not able to pay, I can have any number of people who can work for me. So there is no security of tenure. So if I have to pay huge amount of rent and there is no security of tenure, the tenant also has no capacity to invest. So as a result, what we are inheriting during the British, since independence, that is 1947 onwards, the British government has created a system where the intermediary or the owner is not investing, and also the tenant farmer has no capacity or security of tenure is a problem. This is why they are also not investing. Similar systems get in Rayatwari and Mahalwari areas also, because there also the owner is thinking, why should I work on the land if the revenue is high? Why not let others people work for a rent? So वहाँ पे economic situation की वजह से the farmer is having a tenant on his own land. Money lenders, if they have taken money from money lenders at huge interest rates, not able to pay the interest, the land is being confiscated. So there the money lender becomes the intermediary. So Rayatwari, Mahalwari areas also have a similar system, though not explicitly created by the British, but due to the socio-economic conditions, the money lender became the owner, or people who were actually not practicing had tenants on their own land. So same thing happens in most of British India, where you have no incentive to invest from the owner, and you have the farmer who has no capacity to invest. As a result, what we inherit in 1947 is that India has low food grain production. We're not able to produce enough for our population, and secondly, even the productivity is low. The yield which we have per hectare, that is also very low because nobody is investing. So 1947, we get a system that is having shortages, having significant amount of food inflation, and absolutely missing technology. Most of the farmers are practicing something called as surplus or something called as subsistence farming, only enough for their own production, surplus hai hi nahi. No surplus means 1947 onwards, Indian economy is dependent on imports from outside. Whatever steps are taken by the first government after independence, they are working more on social transformation. Two types of steps being taken. One, they want to redistribute the land or correct this land ownership problem. So first step which the Indian government takes, which they ask the state governments to do because land is a state subject, is to improve the land ownership patterns. This is what got called as the land reforms. The second thing which they did in the first 5-year plan was investing in infrastructure creation in agriculture. To solve this problem, the Indian government is trying to focus on productivity by improving the land relationship, and second, by building enough infrastructure. But if we are working on this, there's no solution to this. That means the food grain production still remains. If the food grain production still remains, there is a 1950s onwards, late 1950s, there has been a development in Mexico. This development in Mexico was a new hybrid variety of seeds for the production of wheat. Now this hybrid seeds variety which was produced in Mexico in late 1950s, now if the Indian government wants to adopt this technology, that means if you adopt a new technology that comes in agriculture, this new technology would have a risk. Now what would have been seen in Mexico or even in some controlled settings in India was that this production from this high yielding variety seed was 2 to 3 times more than what the traditional seed was getting. But these are all based on the studies in Mexico, or they are done in controlled settings in India. So the farmer here is reluctant whether he will adopt this new technology or not. So what we have got from the British is low food grain production and also low productivity. Indian government is focusing on productivity by doing two things, that is land reforms, and the second was infrastructure building. Food grain production ke liye we needed some technical reform. 1950s we have this option. Now if 1950s we have this option, farmer is not ready to take a risk because he'll spend 6 to 8 months of the time on this particular activity, will invest significant amount of inputs. If he doesn't get a good output price, then the whole mechanism doesn't work. A farmer is not in a position to invest too much and then get nothing on the output. Because the problem with these high yielding variety seeds was all of these seeds were input intensive. Input intensive means my cost of investment, the capital investment that would be required in agriculture would increase multiple times. Now, if the Indian government provides a subsidy on this, then they might use the input. But the risk on the output production would still remain. Whatever output will come, whatever kgs they produce, what if they don't get a price on this product? So the whole genesis of MSP in this. MSP was that if the market is going to give you a problem on output, we are moving from a system which is subsistence to now surplus. That means if I am going to invest something, I need more than what I invest. Then only I am going to take the risk. Now, Indian farmers do not have any exposure to the market because till now there is no surplus. So, pehli baar in 1950s, late 50s, early 60s, we are saying that you increase this intensity and you produce for market. That means you will have a surplus and then go to sell in the market. Until and unless you have surplus production, you cannot guarantee food security. So this exactly was the plan of the government, that if we have to introduce something which is input intensive, hum subsidy yahan to de sakte hain, but how will we control how much will be the price here at the output? So what the suggestions came from number of places, including MS Swaminathan. He was very instrumental in bringing these seeds and also making certain technology, indigenous variety of seeds, which would respond to the Indian agroclimatic conditions. So what he said was, whatever surplus output the farmer produces, the government should give a guarantee that if this price is not good enough, we are going to offer you a minimum price. And what the MS Swaminathan, the recommendation which came from him, he was the one who was instrumental in getting all of these seeds. He presented this whole case to the Ministry of Finance, and he said that Indian government would have to provide two types of supports. At the input end, the Indian government would have to provide a subsidy, and at the output end, the Indian government would have to promise that whatever the quantity is being produced by the farmer, they are going to buy that quantity at a minimum price. Now, what this minimum price was, he said you buy it at a price which is equivalent to the price which they had got the last time when the output was produced, or when the last season, whatever the price was. So there's no scientific calculation of MSP. He just gives an idea. Last time production ka jo price hai, wo I am going to ensure this time also. So you take a risk. I am going to incentivize input by giving you subsidy. So the subsidy would be, say, for example, on fertilizer. Subsidy would come on irrigation. Subsidy would come on power usage. Subsidy would come on seeds. So at the input end, we are going to provide you certain subsidies. And at the output end, whatever produce you are going to get, if the market doesn't give you a good price, we are going to buy your produce. What price we are going to buy you at? This is the last time production price which you got. Now, this is the genesis of MSP in the country. This is what is the recommendation. The Indian government does not accept this because we did not introduce this technology till 1967. This was presented to the first Prime Minister. This idea was not accepted because the Indian government believed we do not have the money for all of this. So in 1950s, when this idea has been given, this is not accepted. Only when the problem of food grain production becomes very dire in 1965-66. Now 65-66 is when the food grain production problem becomes highly acute, because two major problems happen. One, we have a failure of monsoons in both these years, both 1965 and 66, and food grain production of the country falls drastically. Till 65, India had reached a food grain production of 88 million tons, but this had fallen to 72 million tons in a matter of 2 years. Now, this problem is acute not just because food grain production is falling, but a problem is acute, your population is also rising. 20 years mein the population is expanding and you do not have enough amount of food to feed. So the solution of minimum support price and input subsidies given in 1950s is rejected. But the problem becomes acute in 65-66 because one, we have failure of monsoons, food grain production falls, population is increasing. So per capita grain availability in the country is falling. Second problem that happens here is that we have, after the Indo-Pak war, India has a diplomatic failure with the US government. Due to certain changing geopolitical scenarios, the country which was providing us the maximum amount of food in the first 20 years, 1947 to 1967, we have significant amount of food grains being flown from US and its allies. And whatever food grains were coming, they were coming at a highly concessional cost, the price which you had to pay in rupees. So because of certain geopolitical situations, US was trying to support India. In fact, the first 3 5-year plans which India had, 25% of the money had come from US and its allies. US has formed a special dedicated forum for India aid, out of which they were giving them money. But the moment we have a diplomatic failure with US in 1966, whatever food aid we are getting, this food aid becomes gets restricted. US is not ready to send in food aid to India, and at the same time we have a failure of monsoon. Both of these things happening together, food grain productivity falling, because the imports which were helping you, which were coming as aid, that has also become restricted. As a combination of the two, what the Indian government does is, the Indian government adopts the high yielding variety program, and this high yielding variety program mostly for rice and wheat, because the variety of seeds, the high yielding variety seed of wheat was brought from Mexico, and a similar variety of rice was brought from Philippines. Manila में ये development हुई है and Mexico से ये Using certain think tanks and also NGOs from the US government, Rockefeller and Ford Foundation, we get these seeds. But the problem still remains. If you get these seeds, you have to provide a support at input and you will have to provide a support at output. The input support which the Indian government was ready to give was subsidy, and the output support which the Indian government was ready to give was MSP. Now this is where 1967 onwards MSP operations start in the country. Till 1967, there is no concept of MSP which is introduced by the Indian government. Now what exactly is the reason? The reason is clear why it was introduced, why it further got expanded or why further it got continued. The idea of MSP was the minimum support price is going to be a floor price which is going to be a guarantee from the government. A floor price that is a guarantee from the government. What do we mean by this? That whenever the farmer is going to sell his produce in the market, if the market fails, this is the most important thing to understand here. MSP is a support only in cases of market failure. MSP is not a support in case of any weather related fluctuations or any yield related fluctuations. If the farmer faces a problem of too much rain, less rain, droughts, any other problem apart from market failure, what could be the... So one is you are facing a market failure. Another failure which the farmer could face is that he has certain weather related fluctuations or due to some reasons the yield has failed. If these two particular failures are experienced by the farmer, for these two failures, the Indian government has other schemes which are providing subsidy on insurance. Insurance is what is going to protect you against this, and for insurance, the farmer will have to pay a premium. So in failures के लिए आपको अलग protection है, that protection is referred to as your insurance schemes. The Indian government can facilitate these insurance schemes. Insurance is a regular risk protection mechanism which any individual can buy. If you think you have a health related risk, you have a life related risk, you buy insurance from the market so that whenever the risk materializes, the insurance company gives you a financial cover. Any particular risk in the market you face, you can have an insurance of that particular event. Similarly, agriculture अगर बहुत uncertain है, you can have weather related failures or you have yield related failures, you buy an insurance for it. You feel you are in an uncertain environment, you buy an insurance. The government can help you in the insurance. How? For example, right now what the government has, whatever premium you have to pay, we are going to pay a subsidy on the premium. This is what is the government support. For example, right now the government has a scheme which is Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Under the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, this premium which the farmer has to pay has to be shared between farmer, the state government and center. So whatever center and state are paying, this is what is the subsidy. So if you think that the agriculture as a sector is uncertain, you buy an insurance protection for it. Uncertain means in terms of weather and yield. It was never uncertain in terms of price. Market failure, because of any reasons it happens, if the price fails, then the protection is MSP. But if it happens because of weather and yield, protection is insurance which you have to buy. Government can share your burden in premium, but this is not going to be covered under MSP. So MSP is not given because agriculture as a field is uncertain in terms of weather or its yield. Agriculture is uncertain in terms of what market failure happens or what price the farmer will get. Now, why does the farmer not get a good enough price? So initial idea is we want the farmer to adopt a new technology. We want a farmer to start producing surplus. So we are going to cover your risk. So the initial idea, why MSP is given, there are two reasons. One, we want surplus production, and for surplus production we want more investment. We want more investment and also we want more technology. Both of these things are having a risk. This risk is going to be covered. Risk coverage in the market for price is going to be covered through MSP. So why MSP should be given? Why MSP was given is what you need to understand first. Why MSP was given is that we want surplus because we want to ensure food security. In order to ensure surplus, we want the farmer to invest more, we want the farmer to adopt new technology. But both of these things they're involving a significant risk. So what the government says, whatever the output you produce, we are going to give you a floor price, which is going to be a guarantee. This is what is called as the minimum support price. So why MSP was adopted? We wanted surplus, and for surplus we wanted new technology and more investment. The farmer would be ready to take a risk because you are covering two things on his risk. One, you are providing the technology and the investment at a lesser value. You are providing subsidy. Second, whatever I produce from that, you are giving me a guarantee I will buy it at MSP. So the farmer is ready to take a risk in agriculture, and risk was required because 1967, 20 years have passed, India has not yet solved the problem of food grain production. So 67 we get MSP system so that we have surplus production in order to ensure food security. Another reason why the MSP now should be given, this was the initial reason, this could still be the reason because we are still facing problems of climate change. We want the farmer to adapt. If you want the farmer to adapt, you also would have to provide him a guarantee. So the reasons this also would remain today because the stabilization has not happened in Indian agriculture. We can still face a problem of stability on food security in order to incentivize investment and technology, because now farmer does not have to incentivize more investment because we are moving from subsistence to surplus. अब surplus को maintain करना है. Now the problem is climate change is going to impact how much surplus you can create. So now we have to maintain the surplus. In order to maintain the surplus, we need to provide a price coverage. Another reason why MSP was given, why it should be given today also, agriculture as a field faces significant amount of price fluctuations. So coming back to our discussion, insurance versus market failure. Insurance was for weather and yield related failures. The MSP is for market failures. Now what could be the market failure here? Why these price fluctuations happen? Now on what basis does the farmer decide what crop to do? Price of a particular crop which they are getting right now. If the particular season I am getting a good price of that particular product, that means most of the farmer would be ready to, for a particular season, the price was good, the production increased because the price was good. But if the production increases, what happens to supply? Supply increase hoga, what will happen to price? Yes, this is the biggest problem. This is where the price fluctuation lies. The farmer knows what the price is, but the farmer does not know other farmers what they are going to do. The biggest problem in agriculture market is that this price market information which we get from the market, information on supply, information on demand. Both this supply and demand information are highly imperfect in nature. Both the information on supply. I know that this is a good price, I'll start doing that crop. But I would not know how many farmers are going to do the same crop. If number of farmers do the same crop, I will have a price failure. Now this information and the demand, this information on both supply and demand, since they are imperfect, we will have significant amount of price fluctuations. If we have price fluctuations, that means if the price which is falling for a particular crop, it falls much below what exactly is the input cost, this is going to lead to a significant amount of distress. In order to counter this distress, and another reason, there are two reasons here why the market failure would have an implication. If I have lesser price, what would be the production number in the next season? The next season I would have less amount of production. If I have less production numbers in the next season, this could threaten my food security. So in order to prevent this from happening, where due to the market imperfections, there have been certain price fluctuations, and if these price fluctuations remain, the farmer is not just going to face a significant distress, you're also going to have a threatening position for your food security. You might have shortage of food because lesser price did not give them any incentive to produce further. If this is going to happen, a problem for both the farmer and problem for the government, because the consumer is going to pay a high price. This is why the government said, we are going to pay you a minimum price, the floor price, which is going to come as a guarantee, and this minimum price was called as the MSP. So why MSP is given? One, I want more risk taking from the farmer to invest more, to invest and adopt new technologies so that he can adapt to the changing situation. The second reason why it is given, because agriculture as a sector will always face uncertainty in terms of price. Again, uncertainty not in terms of weather and yield. Yield and weather protection ke liye you have insurance. So whenever you have uncertainty in price, market is going to make you suffer. We are going to provide you a protection, because it's not just to protect the farmer, it is also important to protect my production. Both of the things have to be protected, that the farmer should not face a distress, and also the food security should not become an issue. The government says we are going to pay you a minimum price. This is what is the genesis of minimum support price. And these price fluctuations which we have talked about, these price fluctuations can also increase because of a number of factors. One factor is that you do not have information of demand and supply. Another reason why price fluctuations can happen is what exactly is the global market situation. Now price can also fail because in particular seasons, some other country has grown this crop in abundance and they are selling that particular crop in your country at a lesser price. For example, India faces a significant burden of imports of oil seeds. Why imports of oil seeds is a problem? Philippines, is it Philippines producing the maximum? Indian farmers are not able to compete with the price of crude oil, that is the crude palm oil, for coming from two countries, Malaysia and Indonesia. We are not able to compete with their price level. If I'm not able to compete with their price level, that means the amount of price coming in the market is very low. If the amount of market is very low, that means the farmer is not going to produce. If the farmer is not going to produce, that means I have a threatening problem on food security, making us dependent on imports. All the more imports are coming because the farmer was not ready to deal with this price fluctuation. Now, how can I increase his production? What if I give a minimum support coming from the government? If I give them minimum support coming from the government, then they can definitely have more production. So why exactly MSP is required? Because agriculture as a field faces significant amount of price fluctuation. I'll discuss more on the price fluctuation because the government can also create these fluctuations. In the last 3 years, government has created significant fluctuations in the price of number of agriculture commodities. This is why the farmers have doubled down on their demand for MSP as a legal guarantee, because this price fluctuation has only increased in number. How government can also do this? ये एक regular problem है market का. Indian market and Indian government policies, these two also will complicate this problem, and the farmer is going to face significant price fluctuations. So MSP as a MSP as a support is to tackle the failure of price in the market. Government is going to provide a minimum. Is this clear why MSP is required? Why MSP should be given? This is just understanding the significance of MSP, why farmers are demanding it and why the government is not ready to give. We'll discuss separately. But is the base clear why MSP is required? Now, when this MSP system is adopted, how does this MSP system evolve? The government is going to procure at a minimum price. So there are two things involved in MSP. One is that the government is going to announce the MSP, and second, the government is going to procure the MSP. Why the announcement, or how the announcement, when it is made, how it is decided. Second, the government also has to procure. Until and unless procurement happens, the announcement doesn't make any difference in the life of the farmer. This is one of the reasons why the demand is a legal guarantee. Now, when the government announces the MSP, the government announces MSP for 22 crops, including a price support which is different for sugarcane, that is called as FRP. A lot of newspaper sources you will see all of these mentioned together, 23, but sugarcane ka market is completely different. The dynamics of sugar is different because sugarcane is not bought by the government and it is not a minimum price, it is a fair and remunerative price. It is much more than what the MSP government gives. This mechanism is completely different from what the MSP is. In MSP, the government covers three types of crops. One, the government covers food grains. In food grains, the government covers cereals, government covers pulses, and it covers oil seeds. Non-food crops, commercial crops, it covers three types. One is cotton, jute, and dried coconut, that is copra. So we have 22 odd crops for which MSP is given, out of which there are roughly to 18-19 food grains, cereals. Cereals they have coverage of all, that is the finer grains, rice and wheat, including millets. And then you have coverage of all pulses and oilseeds. So MSP, government is going to announce for 22 odd crops, and this announcement has to be made before the sowing season. Why before the sowing season? Because the farmer has to prepare beforehand which crop should he do, based on which crop is provided protection. I can only take risk when I know how you are covering my risk. So I will take more risk. I will face the price fluctuations if I know where exactly the support is. So 22 odd crops, which is food grains and commercial crops. This is also a very important information, which crops are being given.
Match your passion for joining the civil services with a strong hold over current affairs. Turn your UPSC Prelims journey into success with the PT 365 program starting from 9th January at 5 p.m. Offering an amalgamation of 1 year current affairs in 60 hours, sourced through authentic sources such as The Hindu, The Indian Express, PIB, Yojana, Economic Times and more. The program is curated to enrich your current affairs knowledge for prelims success. Enroll to transform your preparation with features such as personalized mentoring for current affairs coverage, specific targeted content oriented towards prelims exam, doubt clearing sessions, access to high quality questions with Sandhan personalized test series, access to live and online recorded classes.
These 22 mandated crops, UPSC has asked multiple questions over the years on these crops itself. Last year, the question was on this, Niger seed. Out of the 3 statements, 2 statement was whether Niger seed is given an MSP or not. Second is Niger seed a kharif or a rabi crop. And third was with respect to the use of Niger seed, where exactly is the predominant use, used by tribals for various purposes. So this is how the questions, 2018 they had asked a question that given list of 8 different crops and asked, out of this the government announces MSP for what crop. So you have to have an idea of all 22 broad crops which are covered. 3 types of food grains, cereals, pulses, oilseeds, and commercial jute, copra and cotton. This is what is the 22 odd crops which are covered under price protection. Is it clear? Now how is the price decided? This is a first controversy which is happening right now. Announcement 22 odd crops, and announcement will happen before the sowing season. Now what exactly is the price, or how exactly the farmer is getting to know what the MSP is? The final decision, or first, in order to decide the price, we have a technical body which recommends, and we have the final price which is coming from the cabinet, the cabinet committee of the economic affairs. This is what gives the final decision on what the MSP should be. How it should be decided comes from a technical body. This technical body established in 1965 the Agriculture Price Commission. This was later renamed as Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices. So the Indian government in 1965 establishes a body which can help them know what the minimum should be. So no longer the minimum would be equivalent to what last you got. Minimum would be a particular scientific observation from the field, so that we have an objective value of what the minimum should be. Final decision the government is going to decide. How does the CACP decide this? There are a number of factors which the CACP takes into account, but the most important factor which they take into account is the variable of input cost. This is the most important factor which decides what it should be the MSP for a particular crop. And this is where the controversy lies. The input cost calculation by the CACP includes number of variables. How exactly do they do that? They have more than 8.5 thousand reference points throughout the all of the country, because the MSP that will be decided will be same for all the country. We do not have variations according to the state. We have single MSP, which is decided based on a reference point of 8,300, 8,400 farmers. And these keep on rotating. CACP keeps on rotating so that they have a good enough idea of what their input price is. How do they calculate the input cost? Input cost has 2 price variables. One price variable is what is the explicit cost faced by the farmer. Explicit cost is what cost is incurred and also paid. So what exactly is the total cost paid by the farmer from his own pocket? And we are going to take the farmer who's spending all the inputs. So what exactly is the total cost which is paid by the farmer from his own pocket is what is the explicit cost. For this, the CACP has two variables. One variable is cost variable A1 and the other is cost variable A2. What exactly is included in A1 and A2? If we assume that the farmer is using all types of inputs, he has hired labor, he is using fertilizer, he is using certain machines, he's brought capital for certain interest on loan. Also, whatever is the loss of value of the asset, that is depreciation, and so on and so forth. Whatever input he uses, I will know what is the cost of the inputs. This is the cost variable A1, incurred and also paid. What exactly is cost variable A2? Apart from his own land, if the farmer is renting some place for practicing agriculture, that means he's practicing agriculture on his own land and he's also taken in a leased in land. So if cost A1 is the total price paid as input, leased in land if he has taken, he is going to pay a rent. This total value is what is the cost variable A2. So the CACP will provide a submission to the government that the farmer has used this much input cost, incurred and also paid from his pocket. This is the total estimate coming as an average from different reference points. This is what is the average input cost which is being used for a particular crop. Every crop has different MSP. We'll calculate what this. We have a cost component of inter-crop price parity also. That is also included after input cost. So there are different variables, but the most important is what exactly is the input cost. Now, if this is cost A2, there are certain implicit cost variables also which CACP calculates. These implicit cost variables are those which the farmer has incurred but not paid. There has been some expense, but I did not give any money to that expense. How exactly that would happen? The implicit cost, one of the implicit cost could be whenever farmer is practicing agriculture on his own land, one, the farmer himself is practicing agriculture, which is an input, but he is not getting paid for it. That means the farmer himself is working, he is not getting any particular wage. Not just the farmer, if he also involves some amount of labor from the family. Now this money which the farmer is putting as an input in his agriculture, he is incurring a cost but he is not paid for this cost. That means this particular wage which the farmer and the family labor should be getting, there should be some estimation of this wage because this wage is also as an input, but it is not being paid for. The cost is incurred because I've used 3 people. So one is the farmer himself and I've brought in 2 from family. If I would have bought 3 from the market, I would have to pay some rent. So A2 cost बढ़ जाता. Since these are 3 people who are working without a wage, this is also an input cost. So you should estimate what this wage is. We calculate an imputed value. We come to know from the market if what exactly is the labor price for 3 labors. From the market, we come to know the imputed value. Okay, if 3 people would have been brought in, how much they would have charged. This is what they would have charged. So I have an imputed value for family labor. So one of the implicit cost component becomes, if the farmer and the family is working, how much they should have been paid for. I will know from the market what is the rate for a particular labor and 3 people are being used. So what is the price for those 3 labor? This is what my imputed cost variable FL. Is this clear what is FL? What is A2 and what is FL? Because hired labor ki cost nahi badi hai, so I have to include this labor cost. The second thing which the farmer or which the CACP calculates, if this land is being used in agriculture, that means this land which is being used, this is own land for the farmer, but this land has a use value. If the farmer would have practiced agriculture on someone else's land, he would have to pay a rent. But if he is practicing on his own land, there is an input cost, that is the use value of land, that is the rent on own land. Just like if a person starts a business activity in his own home, he is incurring a rent, but he is not paying it. Similarly, if the farmer is practicing agriculture on his own land, he's incurring an input cost that is rent, but he's not paying it. Just like he was not paid for these wages, the use value of the land that is rent, that is also not paid. So they say, farmers also say that this should also be calculated, which CSEP does. अपने land पे क्या rent forego हुआ है, something which you have foregone, this should also be counted as an input cost. Similarly, if the farmer is using certain amount of machinery on his own land, this machinery also has a use value. We are not saying that the machinery is losing value. वो depreciation है वो count होगा because depreciation is being paid for. Machine has a use value. This use value is what they are calling as the interest on these machines. Whenever capital is being used, capital has a use value that is called as interest. Factor of production capital has a use value which is called as interest. Both these cost components, own machines interest and own land rent, these are also implicit cost variables which are incurred but are not paid for. All of the three are implicit cost variables. For example, if the farmer is using his own bullock cart, if he's using his own bullock cart, the use value of this bullock cart also has to be included, which should be an interest. All of these are implicit cost variables. Now, what exactly is the reason why we are calculating all of this? Because there is a controversy right now happening on what exactly or how the MSP should be calculated. The calculation became a major point of reference. Is this clear? What are these cost variables? If this is clear, you'll be able to understand what the conflict is. Now, how the MSP operation started? The MSP operations was that the farmer is going to sell the produce in the market at market price, and if the market price fails, you have a minimum, that is MSP. This was what the operations is, that if the market price fails, we are going to buy it at MSP. If this is going to fail, only then the government is going to intervene. But when is the announcement of this market price made? When is the announcement made? This is before the sowing season. When the decision has to be taken on what crop has to be done, that means when the market is getting the crop, the market already has a reference what the MSP is. If market already has a reference, then will the market give more than the MSP, less than the MSP, or at MSP? It is a price benchmark for the market only. Why will they give more? So when I started the operations, just to give an example, if the market price was 30 rupees, the government announced MSP as 15. Because if this fails, failure of iska tab hoga jab ye 30 se 10 pe chala gaya, mera input cost is not being covered. So government said we are going to give you 15. This is what the promise was. But now if the market knows that the government has already announced 15, if they have already announced 15, that means the market price is going to follow what MSP is. So most of the crops, what the farmer gets in the market is either more than the MSP, but majority of the times he's getting less than the MSP. If he's getting less than the MSP from the market itself, that means something which was minimum in principle has now become maximum in practice. Understand what the problem is? It had to be a minimum when the price is failing. But when it is coming into practice, the market is using the MSP as a price benchmark. So something which was minimum, defined as a minimum, but now has become maximum in practice, then it becomes important how MSP is calculated. Because if market is also going to follow MSP, that means this 15 should be enough to cover what exactly is my input. So the farmers started demanding. First demand came during 2000 or 2002, 2003 onwards, because there was a lot of distress that was happening in the rural sector. Agriculture is not very remunerative. They start demanding whatever our input cost is, we want 50% over this input cost. This input cost plus 50% becomes a recommendation from the National Commission of Farmers, which was under the leadership of MS Swaminathan. The government in 2005 formed a National Commission for Farmers. He also said that you have to pay a 50% over input cost because now something which was minimum has become maximum. The market, if it is going to follow the MSP, you will have to provide them 50% over and above the input cost. The government accepted this input cost, or this decision of the government or decision of the farmers, that we are going to give you input cost plus 50% The government accepted this proposal. And since 2018-19, the government has been announcing a minimum of 50% over input cost. If the government wants the farmer to diversify, the government can also give more for certain crops. For example, if we want more millet production में हम 50% से ज़्यादा हम say 90%, 70% is what we can give you. So that you diversify to other crops, your profit margin is going to increase. So whatever your input cost calculation is, that is CACPs, we are going to promise a 50% over. This 50% is the minimum which we are going to give. We can also give more, but minimum 50% we are going to give. Accepted in 2018-19. From 18-19 till today, the government is giving 50% over input cost. But what the problem is, how is this input cost calculated? The price variable that are calculated in input cost. The government is assuming only two variables as input. The government calculation is A2 plus FL. This is what is the government formula for input cost. They use A2 plus FL and provide 50% over A2 plus FL. But what the farmers are demanding, we don't want A2 plus FL only. We want A2 plus FL plus rent and interest. Interest on own capital assets, own machinery, and rent on own land. This cost variable, input cost variable, is called as comprehensive cost, and CACP uses C2 as the variable to indicate this. So the farmers are getting 50% over input cost, but input cost is assumed to be A2 and FL, whereas the farmers are demanding 50% over C2. So the government has accepted this, but uses this for input cost, whereas the farmers are demanding this. This is the first controversy on what the MSP or how the MSP should be decided. The government formed an expert committee after the farm law bill was repealed that we are going to decide this matter, whether 50%, minimum 50% should be given over this or should be given over this. But no recommendation has come as of now. This is why the farmer protest still going on, that we want a clarity on this, and the second is legal demand. Is this clear? So we have one particular point of problem, that A2 plus FL is what the government is giving, we want over C2. This is the first major issue in MSP, why the particular controversy. Now what is the second controversy? Now why are the farmers demanding legal backing? First, MSP is clear. How MSP is decided is clear. Then why are the farmers demanding a legal backing presently? What is the reason for demanding a legal backing? Climate change. Climate change to fir wohi insurance. What was the reason for MSP? MSP was for price guarantee. That is subsidy. Why subsidy? Do you understand why MSP is to be given? MSP is to be given because there are price fluctuations, right? And this is how it should be decided, C2 plus 50%, because market also tries to follow this price. So we want a 50% minimum coverage on our input cost if we want farming to be remunerative. If this does not happen, we have a problem. Now what exactly is the problem? The present demand, why the farmer is demanding a legal guarantee. First we'll talk about why it should be given. What is the reason why this legal guarantee should be given? Right now, MSP is not backed by any law. This is also one of the differences between the market of sugar and market of MSP. Sugarcane is backed by a law. Essential Commodities Act 1955, Sugarcane Control Order 1966. So uska ek legal backing hai. Sugarcane and sugar both are essential commodities. MSP right now does not have any legal backing. Why it should be given? The reason why it should be given, or why the farmers are demanding. Now understand the perspective of the farmer. What the farmer is facing, farmer is buying all of the input, all of this input, and this is a very peculiar field. Peculiar field, why? Because all of the inputs are bought at a retail price, but the output is sold as a wholesale price. No business does this, where you buy input at retail but sell at wholesale. But the farmer has to do this because the unit of application is small. वो sell हमेशा wholesale होगा because consumers, the traders will always demand a higher quantity. Whereas the farmer will have to sell it or get all of the products at a retail price because he's a single entity. So if the prices of input are increasing year on year, if the input prices are increasing year on year and the farmer does not get an output price, that means cropping as an activity does not earn him any revenue. Now the facts what said came from the situation assessment survey. The situation assessment survey says the income that is coming from cropping has been declining significantly. What the farmers earns in 2012, what the situation assessment survey had a calculation of the farmer's income, compared to 2019-20, the income coming from cropping has dropped significantly. That means the average income which is of a agriculture family, that is 10,200 rupees per month. This is 2018-19, the situation assessment survey. Out of this 10,000, less than 50% of the income is coming from cropping. In fact, what they found out was 55% out of this 10,000 comes from cropping plus livestock both. Hardly 36 to 38% is what the farmer is earning from cropping. That means even if he is earning 10,000 rupees, majority of this 10,000 is coming from activity of manual labor. That means the farmer has to find work in construction site in the city. If the farmer is going to find construction work, this also explains one more thing which the periodic labor force survey says. If the farmer has to move to different places to find more income, there is more feminization of agriculture. Women of the households have to practice agriculture. This is why we are also seeing an increase in the women in labor force. Something which was around 22 to 23% in last 4 years has increased to 38%. One of the reasons what explains this feminization of agriculture, because more women have started participating in agriculture, not out of choice but out of necessity, because most of the agriculture income is coming from manual labor. Now, why this income is not being received? There are a number of reasons why this income is not received. One of the first major reasons why this income is not received, because when the farmer sells it to the output, he has to sell it to the market. Now, what are the problems in this market and how the farmer cannot get a good enough price? If I have a farmer and a trader relationship, who is more in number? Farmer, trader is less. If farmer is more, trader is less, and there is also perishability of the produce, who will decide the price of the produce? Trader. This whole market is the major price reference comes from the trader only. Farmer has absolutely no bargaining price in this. The government, in order to regulate this mechanism, has created agriculture produce marketing laws, where they have created designated mandi sites, and these mandi sites are the ones which are going to have a price auction. But dual problems. First, in order to control this problem, you created mandi sites, but what if the farmers do not have this mandi? If states do not have this enough mandi sites and there is no price auction, that means this relationship still remains. More than 85% of the trade in India happens outside the mandi, because the mandi itself is absent. If states have not created enough mandis, that means the market is not present. No mandi means the price is dictated by the trader. Price is dictated by the trader. The farmer is also not being covered his input cost. This is the first major problem, that at the output end, your market system is broken, that we do not have enough mandi sites. If there are not enough mandi sites, the farmer is not also going to get a minimum price. His input cost is not covered. We have an MSP, but we'll come to that also. But first, the market. The input price cost is also not covered. This is why my agriculture or cropping is no longer remunerative. Secondly, even if the mandi site is available, this mandi site, whatever auction is being taking place, this auction is also rigged in favor of the trader, because the mandi sites are administered by a committee which is Agriculture Produce Marketing Committee. This Agriculture Produce Marketing Committee mostly has the favor of the traders, due to which the farmers are not even getting a good enough price from the auction. As a result, the market system in the country has failed to provide a price to the farmer which is remunerative for practicing agriculture. The market imperfection, that is regulation of APMC and absence of APMC, both of these means that the farmer is not getting a good enough output price. Output price for the farmer is completely gone. This is the first major problem. This is what is the imperfections in the Indian marketing system. The regulation system of the states and inadequate marketing facilities being created. As a result of these two, which is both the responsibility of the state government. Regulation of marketing is a responsibility of the state government. And we'll talk about why, especially right now that the farmers demanded, because the center government tried to replace this. Center government, what they tried to do is this clear how output prices are low? Why MSP is being demanded? Output prices have been depressed. Now, if the output prices are depressed because of failure of APMCs, the center government bought a law in 2020, which was the Farmer Produce Trade and Facilitation Act 2020. Now what they said was that right now you are selling your produce in the APMC mandi, which is regulated by state. The center government said you can sell your produce anywhere in the state, which would be called as the free trade area. Here we will have absolute competition. Why? Because we will have any amount of traders who can participate, because traders don't have to take a license. Traders require no license. License was a problem here. This is why you did not get price. So anyone in this market can participate, and traders can participate without a license. And if traders have good amount of business making opportunities, whether it is in food processing, whether it is in e-commerce, number of opportunities for him increase. If these will increase, the price which he'll give to the farmer will be more. So if we are going to have ease of doing business in agriculture, if we deregulate the trade for the trader, the farmer is going to take the benefit of it. Because if they are offering you, they are making more business, they will give you more prices. But what the farmers believed was, today they might give us good prices, but what about the future market price? Today they might give us good prices, maybe they have good business, but once the business normalizes, they can squeeze the profits given to us and then go rich. The relationship they wanted to explain was that today the trader has better business, but even if he wants to grow, the farmer will be given a lesser price. If the farmer is given a lesser price, we don't have any price protection, we want a legal guarantee. So if the today market price is 30, trader is giving us 50, but who's stopping him from giving us 10? And what has been the global experience, and this is coming from global experience, whether it was in Europe, USA, traders in every country have tried to squeeze out the profits out of farmer. So the state regulation system is not helping us because there is no adequate system being implemented. But what the center did was, center removed all regulations. That means if the price increases from 30 to 50, but who's going to protect us when the price is going to be 10? That means the farmer is not ready to trust the market. Whether it is the problem of regulation or there is a problem of no regulation, whatever the market price is going to get from a trader, there is no protection here. And this, the facts also have certain substantiation to this argument, because cropping as an activity is not remunerative for the farmer. Whether it is regulation problem or even no regulation problem, the trader is not giving a good enough price to the farmer. This is why they are asking the government to support them. That government should announce a legal guarantee to MSP. How the problem becomes all the more difficult. Is this clear, regulation and this? How the problem becomes more complex. In the last 2 years, there was less production of both rice and wheat. We lost significant production of wheat, 6 to 8 million tons, and similar loss in rice also. Now, if the rice production or wheat production has reduced, both rice and wheat production less in the market, the prices of these products will increase. If the prices of these products will increase, what did the government do to control the price? Because increase in price is a problem for the consumer. What did the government do here? FCI 1. Second, there were 3 steps which the government had taken. First, the government placed a ban on export. Export was banned. This is what the government did. Rice and wheat cannot be exported. In fact, broken rice का भी export ban कर दिया. What did the government do after this? The government said the FCI is going to use its buffer stocks for selling it to the people, right? As a result of these two, and also the third step which the government had done, under the Powers of Essential Commodities Act 1955, the government can impose a stocking limit, right? If there is a stocking limit, that means the supply in the market would increase. As a result of these three steps, in just two products I'm talking about, rice and wheat, and this happens a lot in fruits and vegetables, I can also do this. Tomato, onions, potato, all of these things can face everything. This is just a recent example. Export ban, FCI selling buffer stock, and the ECI having stock limits. That means the supply in the domestic market is going to, if the supply is going to increase, what happens to price? Price. Now this price failure is what we wanted. Price failure is good for, but who's going to face the burden? So in regular days, we do not have good price for our products. Because of certain reasons, we were getting good price of the products, where the trader would give us more than MSP because he could export. Russia, Ukraine ka wheat ka problem tha, also rice as a good export. But you placed an export ban, that means the price is depressed. The price is depressed, who is facing this problem? The research group, think tank ICRIAR, estimated in the last 2 years, farmers in India have lost somewhere between 40 to 45,000 crore because of this. This is what is the cumulative loss of the farmers in the country to the tune of 45,000 crore because of these erratic steps taken by the government. So one, I do not trust the market. Second, the steps taken are mostly consumer centric. If they are consumer centric, I am facing a price failure. मंडी के बाहर प्राइस नहीं है, मंडी में प्राइस फेलियर हो रहा है because of the trader lobby. You try to remove all of them, then there is no protection. No protection also means price failure. So the farm protest movement was against all of this only. कि if we go outside the mandi, if the today price goes from 30 to 60, ये कल 60 से 6 रुपए आ जाएगा, तो कौन बीच में आएगा? This is why the farmers started demanding legal guarantee. Irrespective of what you do in the market, we see as a global experiences, farmer does not get a good enough price. Farmer does not get a good enough price. This is why we want a minimum price protection. Minimum price protection, because also most of your policies with respect to pricing in agriculture are consumer centric. So one is a regular reason, the other is a volatility created by the government. This is the step I was talking about, how government policies create the price fluctuations for the farmer, along with the marketing problem. So initial reason we said, information and demand supply nahi hai, global market situation is a problem. But now we have added two more reasons why price fluctuations happen. One, regulation of market in India, and second is the irregular policies of the government, which are mostly consumer centric, but these consumer centric policies are at the cost of the farmer. The government did not bear the burden here. The government created a price failure for the farmer. Is this clear how price fluctuations happen? Yes. Stocking limits. So if I think that the product is less in the market, this is why price has failed or price has increased. So what I will say is, if there is a particular trader in the market, he cannot store more than 100 kgs. 100 kg से जितना भी ज़्यादा है, he has to bring it to the market. So from the last 2 years, the government has imposed stocking limitations on different types of people who trade in rice and wheat. Depending on what their business is, there is a limit on how much they can stock. If there's a limit on how much I can stock, the excess which I have over and above this stock, I will have to liquidate. If I have to liquidate, that means the farmers' prices are going to be depressed because the moment supply increases, prices fall. Is it clear how MSP is a support in case of market failure, that is price failure? Some reasons are natural, demand information, global market situation, but some are manufactured. Manufactured consumer-centric policies, and second is the regulation which is of the government. Problem in agriculture, marketing also depresses the prices for the farmers. Now what is the other reason why they are demanding? Is this clear? Why they are demanding? They don't trust the market because of your regulations and consumer-centric policies. So now why MSP should be given? There is a theoretical reason which we have created which also has evidences. One is that I have a price failure, and second, I want risk, you can also add a new risk, that is adapt to climate change. And how exactly climate change adaptation will happen? You can invest more, you can adopt better technology. Price failure is happening because of multiple reasons: demand supply information, global market, it is happening because of government regulation, and it is also happening because of consumer centric policy. These are the 4 reasons why the government is providing MSP, why the MSP should be given. Now, why the farmers, and why also the farmers are demanding a legal guarantee? Is this clear how the farmers are not getting any price protection? Now, the second thing, what exactly is the problem for the government also you'll understand. Now, when the MSP operations started, the MSP operations were only done for 2 crops. It was announced for 23 odd crops, 22 plus 1 sugarcane separately, but it implemented only for 2. Why was this implemented for 2? Because if the government announces the MSP, that means the government also has to procure. Now, this is where the burden on the government will come. If I have to procure, what will I do of this procurement? There are 2 things which they had done. The procurement could be used for distribution to the people. This is what they can do. One is they can procure and then distribute. If I take it at a higher value and distribute it at a subsidized price, that means I have a burden. I take it at 30 rupees per kg but give it at 5 rupees per kg. And why will I procure these crops? Only I will procure because I have a distribution. And distribution government is doing mostly of what crops? Mostly of staples, that is rice and wheat. Now see how this created another problem. Now what the government is doing. Whenever we announce an MSP, the government is only announcing MSP for 22 but procuring only 2 so that they can distribute it under the PDS. Now for this what they had done, they had established an organization called FCI. FCI is going to go to the farmer and give it to the states. Why this was a problem? Because not every state had good production. 67 food grain is a problem. FCI, जिन states में production अच्छा है, they will procure it from those states and then distribute it to the states which have less. This is why the FCI was created. Also, so the first reason why FCI is created so that we can distribute. The second reason why FCI is created, what if we have a problem in some years and we do not have enough production? How do we create that production? We will going to maintain a buffer. And third, if there is any volatility in the prices, we can also create stability. The step which I just discussed, FCI started selling grains when the prices were high. So FCI has 3 functions: PDS, buffer and price stability. But it will only work for those crops which I have to distribute. So what are the crops which we are distributing? That is rice and wheat. And rice and wheat also, I will take from those crops, from those particular states which have surplus. So this whole procurement mechanism got centered around 2 states, that was Punjab and Haryana. Multiple reasons why Punjab and Haryana, because high yielding variety program took here, green revolution, marketing facilities were good here. It was easier for the FCI to go to the APMC mandi and procure. They have a license of the mandi, they pay market fees and they procure. Rest states do not have enough, plus rest states also do not have the marketing facility. Both of them are problem. Ki procurement ke liye you also need certain spaces where you are going to meet the farmer. You need to have particular marketing sites. Now Punjab and Haryana, also since I'm going to distribute it to the states which are going to have a particular production problem, not just production problem, sabko bhi de sakte hain, depending on how much beneficiary I'm going to cover. If I'm covering beneficiary, until 1997, the beneficiary was only below poverty line people. If I'm only going to give it to below poverty line people, I do not need a lot of grain. That means I can take it from only some farmers. 2014, the Shanta Kumar panel says, most of your procurement is centered around Punjab and Haryana, and it is only being received by 5% of the farmers. That means MSP should be given, we have already established a case, but MSP is given only for 2 crops, that is rice and wheat. Rest of the crops are being procured but very less in amount, negligible. and procured in only 2 states, Punjab, Haryana, with less farmers covered. Now, in order to cover more farmers and also make this mechanism better, what the government introduced in 1997, this was a decentralized procurement mechanism. Under the decentralized procurement mechanism, the states can directly procure it from the farmer if they have the capacity. The money of this operation will be paid by the center. Just like FCI was taking the burden, here the center will take the burden because distribution is happening for food security. Center is going to give the money. So what mechanism changed here was, we have some higher coverage by other states also now, where Madhya Pradesh has picked up a lot of procurement for wheat, Odisha, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, number of states have picked up for rice. The coverage of this farmer, which was 5%, now has reached a significantly, not a very significantly higher figure, only a marginal difference. Niti Aayog reported that maximum 8 to 9% of the farmers are getting the crop lifted at MSP. So MSP is required because the market is failing again and again, because of its own factors or because of government policies. And if the government is giving MSP, the government is giving MSP only for rice and wheat and covering only few states, few of the farmers. That means majority of the farmers are without any price protection on number of crops, only 2 crops, few states, few farmers. We want to now ensure that the legal guarantee comes to all farmers because the market price is failing year on year. Crops are not remunerative. And since it is mostly provided to rice and wheat, MSP can also create a better benefit. If the government diversifies the MSP across different crops and also procures them, I can also provide crop diversification. Another reason why MSP should be given: market failure, price failure. Second was promote investment technology. Now third is promote diversification. Diversification is going to ensure that you have sufficiency, and sufficiency is going to ensure that you do not have import dependence. And 2 crops specifically in dire need for this procurement is pulses and oilseeds. So MSP is required, but MSP, how it is implemented, is skewed for some crops, some states and some farmers. This makes it a case that we should have a legal guarantee for MSP. The original reason is still the same: price failure happens. Procurement is not happening for every crop, and if you want to have crop diversification also, you should provide MSP different for different crops. Is this clear why MSP is demanded? Yes. Why? No, we are saying the same. It should be both announcement and procuring, legal backing to both of these operations, not just announcement. So if the price will fail, you will take it at MSP, either the FCI will take it or the states will take it. No, I can ask the states to do it. For example, when the price failure, now MSP is being used for 2 things from all this discussion. MSP is being used for distribution under the PDS, and secondly, MSP is being used for price failure. This function does not happen, this happens, this does not happen. PDS, it works for rice and wheat, and there are 2 procurement mechanisms here. One is decentralized procurement, which is done by FCI, and the second is decentralized, which is procured by states. But cost of all of this is paid by center, right? Now what we are saying, when the price fails, what the procurement mechanism is, this is called as the price support scheme. Under this price support scheme, the government will procure only in those states where the market price has failed. And how much they will procure? Only 25% of the production from that particular state. Procurement will happen by center, and the money will also be given by, since MSP is to be paid by the center will procure maximum 25%, because the government believes that if the 25% procurement we do, market price will lift. This is what the scheme is. But the problem with this scheme is it's hardly ever implemented. If it is implemented, in some cases, it is implemented for cotton and it is some pulses, they are doing it. But maximum operations happens there, not here. So if now the price will fail, this operation will become important in every state. Wherever there will be a market price failure, center will have to procure and take all of the burden. So this is already happening. This exactly has to be done. Yes. But we have something called as, for rice and wheat, we have open procurement. Open means farmer has no individual limit. Whatever you will bring, we'll take everything. But we have a discretion from what states we take how much. Now FCI, why did it select Punjab, Haryana? Because Punjab, Haryana have good mandi facilities. If you do not have good marketing, why will the FCI go there? FCI procurement is absolutely zero in eastern UP and easternwards any state. It's completely negligible. If it is happening only through state level, but they also don't have the capacity. Bihar, Jharkhand, Assam, and all of these states is completely absent. This is why I said, farmers who are getting the benefit are only few and are only in few states. Not every farmer is getting the protection. So even when we have a principal case for having MSP, actual procurement is only happening for a small percentage, only in some states. It's not happening everywhere. This is why they're saying we need legal protection, because the real reason still stands, price is failing. Is this clear why the farmers are demanding? Why there should be a legal guarantee? You have a number of points to talk about why it should be given. Now why the government is not entertaining them? Yes. Every farmer should be eligible. अगर मेरा प्रोडक्ट का प्राइस 20 रुपीज है, मार्केट मुझे 10 दे रहा है, हाउ विल आई सर्वाइव? वो तो तभी तो दिस केस आई हैड क्रिएटेड. व्हाई एमएसपी शुड बी गिवन? दिस इज वेयर वी स्पेंड अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम. व्हाई एमएसपी शुड बी गिवन? In order to adapt to climate change, I need more investment and more technology. If I know that you will cover me at my failure of price, why will I not take the risk? I will bring in better technology because I know whatever output I do, you will buy it at MSP if the price is not there. I will be incentivized to do this. So now there are many reasons for doing MSP. Price failure can happen of all these points. I explained how exactly price failure happens here, why risk should be taken. Another MSP could also lead to crop diversification. Understand how exactly the benefits of MSP. अब ये सब farmers को चाहिए, because price failure है, you want to incentivize and also you want to diversify. You should use MSP as a price support. Is this clear? How exactly MSP is being demanded by the farmers? Why it is being demanded? There is also facts behind it. How exactly the agriculture income, average income is very less. Mostly people have to participate in manual labor. That means cropping से पैसे नहीं बना पा रहे. Because PDS में वही बांट पाएंगे ना. I'll come to that. Now why the government is not giving this? The government is not even ready to entertain the farmers coming to Delhi. Is it clear why MSP should be given? Why is the government not entertaining them? What is burden?
Are you struggling to complete your syllabus for the UPSC Prelims and Mains 2025? Is the lack of guidance stopping you from reaching your true potential? Vision IS brings to you a dedicated, personalized mentoring solution to transform your prelims and mains journey. Enroll for the Laksha Mentoring Program 2025 for strategic revision, practice, and targeted interventions. Attain high scores with key skill developments such as concept mastery, problem solving, answer writing, and time management techniques. Embark on your preparation journey with Laksha Integrated Mentoring Program starting from 7th December. This comprehensive program offers unified mentoring for both prelims and mains 2025. Laksha Prelims Mentoring Program 2025 starting from 10th December. Intensive program focusing on prelims 2025 preparation.
They have to spend on what? Are we asking for any luxury for the farmer? Then that's the government thinking कि खर्चा ज़्यादा हो जाएगा. Anything else? नहीं, खरीदे हुए कम प्रोड्यूस करेंगे तो मेरा पैसे कम मिलेंगे. आई एम प्रोड्यूसिंग 100 kg, आई एम प्रोड्यूसिंग 50 kg. 50 kg पे कम पैसे, 100 पे ज़्यादा पैसे. In fact, the opposite will happen. International level, नहीं वहां पे अभी नहीं है, वो तो WTO का इशू है. दूसरी कंट्री में तो प्रोटेस्ट इसलिए होगा क्योंकि बिकॉज इफ द इंडियन गवर्नमेंट incentivizes production through MSP, they cannot export it. That's a problem at WTO. This is one of the issues, and this is why the farmer demand is not just legal demand. They're also saying that India should exit WTO because being a part of WTO has given a lot of problem for the farmer. Benefit कुछ ज़्यादा मिला नहीं है, distress बहुत हुआ है. Benefit to other segments definitely could happen, whether it is consumer or even the businessmen who are getting the input at a lesser price. But farmer का नुकसान ही हुआ है WTO में. This is what they believe. Yes, why is the government not entertaining this plea? Excess food supply, okay. Anything else? Market competitiveness. If the government starts giving, now how will the government, or what exactly we can make the legal MSP? Legal MSP can be done through two different ways. Is this clear why MSP should be given and why farmers are demanding? Now next is, why exactly or how exactly this can happen? The legal demand to MSP can happen through two ways. One, when the government will procure and when the government will ask the private trader to procure, or a combination of these two. We'll procure if the price fails, we'll also ask you to procure. Nobody, when we say private trader is going to procure, that means no trade in the country can happen below MSP. So right now MSP is something which is a minimum for the government, where the government will procure, but we can also create a condition that private trade be MSP ke below nahi hoga. Now what would be the implication of private trader procuring at MSP? That means no trade below MSP. What could be the implication of this? It will create, how? How will consumer get it at higher price? Will there be few traders? If you are already telling the private trader at what price to procure, he can only go more. He cannot go less. Do you think there will be participation of traders? There is no trade going to happen in the market. The private traders are going to backtrack. Market में private trade होता इसलिए है so that I have a price. Demand and supply gives us the price, and they exploit this market by having less number and there and more number here. Why will I enter into a market where you're already telling me the price? That means you are already telling me how much profit I can make. And if the profit is less, that is a problem, because see how problem will happen. You're asking me to procure at MSP, but if the prices according to the MSP become more, for example, you are giving A2 plus FL plus 50, right? Or you are saying C2 plus 50. This is a significant cost. But if this price increases for the consumer, then you will ask us to not sell it at more. तो आप खरीदने को बोल रहे महंगा, but बोलोगे सस्ता बेचो. So do you think there is going to be a trade happening? And we have a live example of this. Maharashtra government in 2018, under their agriculture produce marketing legislation, said that no trader in the market can trade below MSP. If any trader is found trading below MSP, 50,000 rupees is the penalty. And if the penalty, if it is found it is being repeated, you can also be put behind bars. Legal provision was made for MSP in the state of Maharashtra in 2018. And what the consequence was, all traders backtracked. The government then had to cancel this amendment in 19. एक साल के अंदर ही traders ने मना कर दिया, we are not going to trade if you're going to decide the price. This is one problem. What could be the other problem? Is it clear? If you decide the price, nobody is going to come in the market. What could be other issue? Another issue, you know what happens in the sugarcane market? What happens in the sugarcane market? Anyone has an idea of the sugarcane market? What happens in sugarcane market? This is also what can happen here. In the case of sugarcane market, the government decides the price, that is FRP, but who pays this FRP? The farmer has to get this FRP from the mills. If the farmer has to take this from the mills, you are creating a legislation for the mills. Essential Commodities Act does the same. Now the same thing will happen here. What is the problem here? The problem in the sugarcane market is that if the mills are not ready to or are not able to make the sales. If they can't make the sales, will they be able to pay the FRP? What happens in the sugarcane market is, because of a good FRP, the production of sugarcane in the Indian market has increased multiple times. If production in the market has increased multiple times, there is a problem, not all of your production will be sold. If your production will not be sold, that means the mill is not going to make if there is no revenue which they can make, how will they pay the FRP to the farmer? If they can't pay FRP to the farmer, that means the distress is yet again introduced for the farmer. So आप announce तो कर दोगे MSP. What if the private trader is not in a position to pay that? And what we have seen in the sugarcane market, roughly 10,000 to 20,000 crore is the total money which the mills always have to pay to the farmer. Though the regulation of FRP says FRP has to be paid within 14 days of delivery, they are still not able to do so because they are not able to sell. Because you have over-incentivized production, I don't earn revenue, I can't pay the FRP. So the distress that was created in the sugarcane market can also now come to the farmer market. This can still be solved because sugarcane के different uses भी हैं. We'll come to that also कि ethanol बना लें. Ethanol से उनका थोड़ा pressure कम हो गया है. This something was 20,000 crore in 2020 because of ethanol, more incentivization of ethanol. It has dropped to 10 to 12,000 crore is the roughly arrear which the mills have on the farmer. But the distress will yet again come. So the second problem for the private trader is, I may not be incentivized. I don't have any good enough reason to enter the market. And the second problem is that I may not have the money to pay them, because if I do not make enough profit or enough revenue, how will I pay the FRP? Something which we have already seen in the sugarcane market. Is this clear? And third, the private trader can also not export. Why can't they export? Because artificial price pay you have produced. The government has given an artificial price which has led to more production. More production and an artificial price is something which is trade distorting, and this has been limited under WTO agreement on agriculture. So you can't export, you have overproduction of some products, can happen here. I can't sell it, how will I pay to the farmer? So if you interfere in the market and distort the price, there is a problem. Private trade will not happen. Private trade will not happen, farmer will, how will it get the price? So this option is difficult to explore. So where exactly do we have a solution? Solution is that the government should procure. Now why is the government not procuring? Why can the government do it? Is it clear why private cannot do it? It's a very difficult thing to ask the private sector. वो मना कर देगा साफ कि we are not doing it. Just we saw this problem in most of the products till 91, where we had a license quota permit Raj. If we are restricting, we are forcing them to do it on price, they may not do business. That means most of the things will be done by the government, for वो PSU से ही सब काम कराना पड़ा. Liberalize हुआ तभी वो market में आए 91. So why is the government not procuring? The biggest problem the government is reluctant to do is, what is the expenditure? Number of studies have given different figures of what the expenditure would be. If we calculate how much the total price of these products on today's MSP, 2022 this data was given, the total government expenditure, if the government procures at MSP for those crops, all 22 crops, the expenditure is going to come out around 10 lakh crore rupees. Indian Express, one of the columnists said, सारा नहीं MSP पे लेना है, you only have to take a few. If you take a few, the market price will rise. If you take a few, the price range is going to come out around 5 to 7.5 lakh crores. So my range of only procurement is going to come around 5 lakh to 10 lakh crore. You know what is the total budget of India in 1 year? The Indian government presents a budget of roughly 45 lakh crore. Now, if I spend most of the money in procuring the amount from the farmer itself, what is the other expenditure I'm going to do? I can't spend this money in spending on infrastructure. I can't spend this money. Infrastructure means I can't spend money on irrigation. I cannot improve transport. I cannot invest in any cooperatives, any spread of banking facilities. I can't do any other step if the complete burden is going to come out of this only. And this is agriculture, ye MSP ka I'm telling you. You know how much subsidy burden the government is already bearing here. The government spends roughly 2.2 to 2.3 lakh crores in the food subsidy, taking it at MSP and distributing it at less price. This is what the government is spending there. The government spends roughly 2 lakh crore rupees on the fertilizer subsidy. If you just understand the dynamics of fertilizer, वहाँ भी यूरिया का प्राइस इंडिया में lowest है. And we have not been able to revise it since the last 12 to 15 years. 2012 के बाद अभी तक वो price increase नहीं हुआ है. So I'm spending 2 lakh crore rupees on fertilizers, I'm spending 2.5 lakh crore on food subsidy. And other expenditures are different. For example, on power subsidy, the state government cumulatively spent 90,000 crore. PM Kisan ka hi expenditure has increased multiple times. PM Kisan itself is 60 to 80,000 crore which the government is spending. So already we are spending huge amount on subsidies. You are asking us to take 10 lakh crore. So 2.2 se सीधा 10 lakh crore jump होगा. Minimum also if we are asking 25%, it is going to be 5 lakh. And if we do this, we are going to sacrifice any long-term solution. This is not a long-term solution. This is you have to do year on year. हर साल करना है. This is something which could have improved the efficiency or productivity. But the farmers still say, efficiency productivity बढ़ जाएगा, but इसके बाद भी तो market failure हो सकता है. Even if our per kg production cost increases or falls, then also the market can fail. So you will have to provide this, but the government believes the expenditure is quite high. This is one problem. What else could be the problem? Regular dependency, वो तो market में हो ही गया, market failure होगा तो regular dependency तो चाहिए ही चाहिए. Activity ऐसा है. What else can be done? The problem is, even if we spend this money, first, does the government have procurement capacity? Do the state governments or even our own agencies have this capacity to go to every particular state and then ensure a legal guarantee? Do we have the procurement capacity or not? Not just procurement capacity. You also need significant amount of storage capacity. This is the biggest problem. Already rice and wheat are being wasted because India does not have enough amount of storage. So you will have to significantly expand your procurement and storage. So I will spend money on MSP. I will have to spend. MSP का अलग है. Procurement capacity, storage capacity will have all the more expenditure. Procurement capacity, storage capacity, and this is not just financial burden, this is also an administrative burden. How are we going to find the resources for doing this? Because we will have to expand our administration. Because now you are asking us to have procurement year on year. So price failure can happen, but this is a huge expenditure which is going to come on the government, which they have to do year on year. And considering the resources of the government presently, it cannot disproportionately allocate something for the farmers. This is what the government stance is, because if 10 lakh crore rupees to sirf MSP pe kharidne ka hai, so that means roughly 25% of the budget has only gone to MSP. Only gone to MSP, not anything in agriculture. So this is a substantial burden that is going to come on the government, not just for procurement, but also for building the capacity and storage. This is going to take a lot of finance plus administration. And the third major problem is, what exactly is going to be the, हम उस crop का करेंगे क्या? If the government procures all of this, what is the government going to do that? See, first, government cannot sell it. If the government sells it, price depress हो जाएंगे वापस से. हमने लिया इसलिए था कि price depress ना हो. Second, the government can use it as a buffer. Buffer, that means whenever there is emergency situation, then we can sell. That means only in our emergency situations, I will have to hold a significant amount of food grain, which I have to again and again have. If I use this as a buffer and then give it at a subsidized price in later years, number of studies come out with an expenditure के 10 lakh crore तो खरीदने में लगा है, but अगर उसको सस्ता बेचा, then it is going to have a roughly cost around. This is the cost you're going to have if you're going to, because you've not yet taken any money. You've taken money, including procurement capacity and storage capacity. All of these expenditures included, I'm telling. This is what the amount will be. If all of it is included, not just taking, but also procurement and storage capacity in order to distribute, you're going to have this expenditure. Government cannot use this for export. Now the farmer has a rational explanation of why legal MSP. The government has a financial problem. Then how do we find a solution? लोकल प्लेयर्स तो मार्केट में सप्लाई बढ़ जाएगा, प्राइस फिर गिर जाएगा. आपने एमएसपी लाया इसलिए बिकॉज प्राइस कम था, तो आपने सप्लाई कम कर दी. बट अगर आप सप्लाई वापस उसी सीजन में बढ़ा दोगे तो फिर प्राइस का क्या होगा? Grain storage plan, that is to substantially increase the storage capacity. But what you are asking, and वो भी फिर some crops, it is just improving slightly कि packs पे हम बनाएंगे, वो भी scheme introduce हुई है. Doesn't mean कि today the government has a legal MSP और ये सारा store हो जाएगा. Roughly 818 million tons की storage space है, और already rice and wheat 878 million tons में पहुंच चुका है in the buffer stocks. Already we are procuring much more. Why? Because rice and wheat is open procurement. We are procuring more than what exactly we need. This is roughly capacity which we have. We are already having rice and wheat much more than that. So farmer has a case, the government has a resource constraint. What is the solution? What? कम करना पड़ेगा. So this could be a long-term solution. We reduce the number of farmers. This could be a long-term solution because we have not been able to create enough jobs in industry. Reducing the number of farmers would be the first step. What could be other? See, the solutions, long-term solutions are two. If you want to replace MSP, you don't want to give MSP because MSP mein major burden is coming from procurement. This is the major problem. Procurement is what is going to give you the expenditure. So what if the government announces the MSP but does not procure? What the government can do is, government have a price deficiency system. Under the price deficiency payment system, allow the farmer to sell it at market in the market price. If market price is less than MSP, the government is going to pay the difference. The market price or the MSP announced for a crop is say 80 rupees per kg. Market price is 120 rupees per kg, you don't have to give anything. But if the market price falls to 60 rupees per kg, you can take the difference from the government. Government does not have to procure, no storage. I don't have to pay the entire MSP. I only have to pay the difference. This could be one of the solutions. If I have a market system, improve my market system के prices हैं market में, improve the regulation of market, I will have a market price. I can pay the difference. Reduces my burden significantly. What else could be the solution? Long term, you can have direct income support. Let them sell in the market. Whatever the price is, the production happens according to market demand and supply. Production, market demand and supply, if you think prices have failed, we are going to give you direct income support. Right now, direct income support is 6,000 per year. We can increase it to 10,000, 20,000, 25,000. In fact, direct income support, I can based on land records, small and marginal farmers can get more. So direct income support will reduce all of this burden. Now, what are the short-term solutions which the government is providing, or number of suggestions? One short-term solution is that I can end the open procurement for rice and wheat. If we end the open procurement for rice and wheat, I can shift it to other crops. Second, I can expand it to, right now 7 to 8% farmers are taking it from, are giving it to the government. I can cover especially small and marginal farmers who have a problem of price. Large farmers do not have a problem because large farmers can explore the export market. Large farmers can have the capacity to sell it to the various agencies in the market and also have a contract farming. So उनके पास multiple options हैं, channel है marketing के. Small and marginal farmers get stuck, you provide them protection. So take it at MSP from this. So this is MSP operations only. But MSP operations and open procurement, this means diversify crops. Second, take it from small and marginal farmers. Also, the FCI can expand to neglected states. I can have states build the capacity. This is what in short term we can do to improve the efficiency or application of our MSP operations. Long term ये price का solution नहीं है because failure वहाँ भी होगा. Long term solution could be either give them a price deficiency payment or give them direct income support. And this price failure is not a problem peculiar to India. This is happening all over the world. This is not a peculiar problem here. Recently, farmers in France also demanded this, that we need a minimum price for produce selling. Europe also is spending a significant amount in doing this because agriculture as an activity will always have price failure. Market failure will always happen. Uncertainties in agriculture वो दूसरा problem है. That is insurance. That also has issues. But we are only talking about market failure or price failure. Is this clear? How legal backing can be tackled? Here also you can give legal backing. Here you can give legal backing, but don't procure. Only procure whatever you want to distribute. But what you can do is have a price deficiency payment system. Pay them the difference between the market price and the MSP. Have a direct income support. Procurement operations nahi banane padenge. Give a direct income support if you think market failure is repeatedly happening. Announce something which is a permanent thing. You don't have to do anything else. That is, you will have to take infrastructure because I'm not creating it in every state. Every state I'm letting the market do it. In some states where the MSP operations are absent, I'm trying to build the market there by becoming a trader themselves. In the neglected state, if the state government themselves start procuring, there will be a situation where I'll have to create the both infrastructure, marketing and also storage. So I'll build the market, slowly surplus will come to the market, traders are the one which are going to participate, then we can reduce our operations. But failure tab bhi ho sakta hai. Failure, this is why I said this is all short-term solution. Failure tab bhi hoga. So this is why long-term solution is only this. Even that also has implementation issues. Long-term solution is only this. This is only for the short term. जिनको नहीं मिला आप उसको provide कर दो. But market failure 3 साल बाद भी हो सकता है. Your policies could be such which are not pro-farmer. So this is just a short-term solution which you can have, increasing your capacity sequentially. I'm not doing it at one time at a go where I'm spending 10 lakh crore. I'm only increasing some because some more farmers can get protection. But they can also have a price failure. Then what I will do? I will have to find a solution like this only. See, this is what, if I focus on infrastructure development, that means my input cost is going to reduce. If I have a protection from infrastructure, whether I have research and development or I have irrigation, that means my input cost for agriculture was coming out to be 25,000 rupees per month. It has dropped to 18,000. But if my output does not give me a price, if my output is not coming to 20,000, what will this do? If my output is giving me just 10,000, what will this do? So MSP is that this can always happen. This is why I said this is short term, because price failure can always happen. The market is skewed against the farmer is pro-trader. Regulations, I'm not having effective regulations to give them a good enough price in the market. If I force the trader too much, he leaves the market. If I do not have infrastructure, the farmer does not have a place to go. So if this can always happen even if I do this. So my productivity is better. I am producing it at a lesser cost. But if I don't get an output price, how will I get a profit? This is why the farmer is saying this can always happen. Even if you do this, this will always happen. If this will always happen, we need a legal MSP. There is absolutely no, I can say no reason against the farmer demanding this. In principle, the farmer has absolutely nothing to where you can say that this will not happen. This can any day happen. Even if I liberalize the trade, Pepsi is giving good price to the farmers of potato in the contract, but next year they are saying we don't need potato or we don't come for a contract. Or if we come for a contract, we'll give lesser value. So then what will the farmer do? This can any day happen. So this is a particular legitimate demand. But the thing is, how do you solve this particular issue when the price fails? Give them this, give them a price deficiency, or build them the infrastructure for everything. Building the infrastructure for everything is what I said is a cost-intensive exercise which the government doesn't want to take. That means spending more than 25 to 30% of my budget on that. And also another problem there would be more supply of agriculture goods, because now I have a price guarantee. I will not produce according to demand of the market, I'll produce according to MSP. Right now, this is a major problem where the government, in private trade I told you, How the sugarcane there is more production. Why? Because India's price or FRP is the maximum in almost all producing nations. This is why India's export is not competitive, because the price is more. That means farmer knows what exactly is MSP. Farmer is not producing according to demand. MSP will lead to overproduction. तो long term में उन्हीं का ही नुकसान होने वाला है. This is what commentators from this side say, that this is always going to happen, because now you have a guarantee. This is always going to happen. That means supply will always be more than demand. This is what is happening in sugarcane. In a lot of times, supply is more. Last 4 years, supply was more. Next year, supply has fallen because of certain climate-related factors. Number of issues, supply has fallen. But वो climate की वजह से हुआ है. Price की वजह से तो आप हमेशा ज़्यादा बद दोगे market में. So, and agriculture is a significant contributor to climate change. CO2 emissions coming from agriculture. Rice से बहुत ज़्यादा methane emissions है. That can also create a problem for them also. So we will have to, the government has to rationalize something. I have to create a plan that I have to stop some distortions and then only do this. This is why the government, it's very difficult to stop something and then talk about something new. ये तो दोनों साथ में करना ही सबसे मुश्किल है ना. And अगर हम simultaneously करें, then my burden will increase. I'm already giving a wasteful subsidy of fertilizer. Now I'm giving direct income support 6,000 to now 15,000. From where is the money going to come? Do you understand the whole dynamics of the issue? How there's a logjam between the two sides, because the farmer absolutely has a demand. He knows price failure happens. Who's going to protect in price failure? The government is that we can't manage the resources. We don't have a policy support. The only solution the government in the long run can do these two things. Is it clear how legal guarantee understand the whole dynamics? Now the next we'll talk about the economics of ethanol production. We'll discuss that after a break.